So this Saturday, the UFC's back after like a 6 week break. Feels like forever. UFC 324, Gaethje versus Pimblett for the Interim Lightweight Championship is the main event. And today I'm going to break down the main card and give my predictions, who I think will win, why I think they'll win, and just kind of give my overall thoughts. But before we get into it, please like, subscribe, comment if you disagree with the picks, and say why. Or if you agree, you can comment as well. That helps. Yeah, but let's go. So Arnold Allen versus Gene Silva. Very high level matchup. Gene Silva coming off the loss to Diego Lopez, and Arnold Allen, I believe his last fight was the Movzar fight. That was just like 2024. He hasn't fought in a while. And with this one, I'm going to pick Gene Silva. Gene Silva, he's had his run in the UFC. He came up short against Diego Lopez. Obviously, and Arnold Allen, he lost to Movzar Evloev. There's a discussion, there's a debate to be said, like, did he win? He could have won that fight, arguably. But I'm picking Gene Silva because I feel like after the Diego Lopez fight, he's kind of got maybe a chip in his shoulder. Like, Gene Silva kind of gives off this, like, pit bull energy. He's like really explosive. He has a lot of power. Arnold Allen does not really have power at all. I can't remember the last time he knocked someone out. Dan Hooker, but that was like drained Dan Hooker. Maybe Arnold Allen could get the wrestling. He could use his wrestling a bit more against Gene Silva, but I feel like Gene Silva would be too strong for him. Gene Silva's faster. He has more power, and even Arnold Allen's chin, I'm a bit suspect of it against Gene Silva because Arnold Allen he got rocked by Holloway, and that was featherweight Holloway. That wasn't lightweight Holloway. Uh, you know, yeah, his only knockout in recent years has been Dan Hooker, and I don't think he'll knock out Gene Silva. Do I think he'll submit Gene Silva? No, but I just feel like Gene Silva will be too fast for him, and that's why I'm going to pick Gene Silva. Plus, Gene Silva will have a bit of a chip on his shoulder after the Diego Lopez fight because Gene Silva came into the UFC, he went on this like unbeaten run. Everyone thought I thought he was going to beat Diego Lopez, but no, he won or sorry, he lost rather, and I feel like he's gonna. He seems like a guy who's like if he loses, then he's gonna kind of refind himself, rediscover himself, and come back better. That's just the vibe he gives off. So I'm gonna pick Gene Silver for this fight against Arnold Allen. Next fight is Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. So this fight, I'm picking Natalia Silva. I think it would be stupid not to pick Natalia Silva. Rose Namajunas is older. She is what is it? Flyweight. She's 1-2. So in that one win was against Tracy Cortez, who's like high ranking or probably low ranking, like top 15. Uh, I can't remember what she is right now, but she's like maybe outside the rankings, like maybe top 15, something like that. And Natalia Silva is obviously like what, number 4, number 5. So she's up there. And I think Rose Namajunas is not what she lost against Fiora, and who was the other one again? I can't quite remember, but I know she lost against Fiora. But yeah, I feel like she's too old. She's slower. Natalia Silva's very technical. Obviously, Rose Namajunas is technical, but I just think she's slower, and that will probably be one of the kind of disadvantages she'll be in this fight. Plus, it's like the kind of head, what the mentality as well. Rose Namajunas has kind of been there, done that. She's been a champion, albeit at strawweight, not feather or flyweight rather. Natalia Silva's coming up. She's like hungry for a title shot and all that stuff. And in the recent run she's been on, she's I think she's undefeated in the UFC. I think she is, but she is or maybe like one or two losses, but she is on this run. She's like on a 13 fight unbeaten streak or something like that. So no, she is undefeated in the UFC. So it's like a 13 fight unbeaten streak against Rose Namajunas, and I just feel like she'll have the upper edge. She's faster, she's younger, she's hungrier. Like that's kind of it, and yeah, she's got very very good striking, like good kicks. None of them really have power. Well, Rose Namajunas has a bit of hidden power, but I'm not too sure about it now. Maybe a few years ago she did, but not too much now. Natalia Silva's really good at kicks, leg kicks, high kicks, and yeah, that's why I'm gonna pick her. So I'm picking Natalia Silva against Rose Namajunas. Next fight, uh, Cortez Acosta against Derek Lewis. I'm gonna pick Costa against Lewis because he's younger. You know, Derek Lewis hasn't fought since, what is it, like almost a year ago? I think it was last April or something like that. So yeah, he's been out for a bit. Obviously, Acosta has been, he done that whole thing where he was it 5 fights he fought? He fought 5 times last year in 2025, and what was it? He lost once and won four. Or sorry, was it 4 times? I think it was 4 times, that's what it was. And this will be his fifth in a year. But yeah, he lost against Pavlovich and he won the rest. Obviously there was that turnaround where he turned around really quickly and he won. And he's the more active fighter. He is younger. He's faster than Derek Lewis. He has like double the significant strikes per minute landed against all opponents. And Derek Lewis is he's like what, 40 years old now. He's been knocked out a bunch of times actually now, by Gan, by Tuivasa. He's just slower. Obviously, Derek Lewis is always just that one fighter that he has to rely on the power. Like he just throws the overhand and just tries to get it. That's kind of Derek Lewis's whole game plan, really. He would just be patient, and then maybe try counter with like an overhand or something like that. Whereas Acosta, he's like good at wrestling, good at, maybe he'll take Lewis down, who knows, but I could see this fight kind of being like a bit of a, for the first couple minutes, maybe being a bit of a kind of brawl, like they're kind of just throwing back and forward. Maybe Acosta's landing more shots, he's kind of getting in and out a bit more, and Derek Lewis is obviously trying to swing his big, overhand or whatever. But I feel like maybe by attrition, Acosta will kind of jab him, couple good shots, and then it'll kind of just be like a downfall from there. Maybe it'll be the second round, maybe it'll be in the first round. He's got like good power, Acosta. So I'm gonna pick Acosta because like what I said there. I think he would just be first to the punch more for like the more little shots as well. Plus, he could land a big right hand on Derek Lewis. Kind of diminish him, and then just like kind of take him, just kind of have his way with him after that. So that's why I'm gonna pick Acosta. Next fight is wrong button. Is O'Malley versus Song Yadong. So Sean O'Malley, last fight he lost to Merab. He lost by submission last June, I think it was, or May or June. Is one of those ones. He What was it? He lost. Yeah, he lost to Merab, and I actually see him losing this one too. I'm not too sure about this because Song Yadong he's good at wrestling. He's really good at wrestling. He's good at striking. He's not. I don't think he win the stand up against. I don't think. Yeah, I don't believe he won the stand up against O'Malley, but I think he might try like a wrestling game against O'Malley. O'Malley's quite susceptible to takedowns, and we've seen that in his last few fights or both of the ones with Merab, and I believe that's what the game plan will be for Song Yadong. Song Yadong, he is good at, he's obviously good at stand up, but he's at a massive reach disadvantage in this fight. And O'Malley's like known to be, obviously his whole thing is he's a striker. He's like a very technical striker, very tall, very lanky, good at kicks, like rangy punches. And I think it'd be smart for Yudong to not engage too much in that, because I feel like he'll be beaten to the punch every time. I feel like he'll maybe go for like a wrestling, aspect to this fight. He'll go for takedowns or he'll go for like clinches. I think that'd be the smart thing to do. Just with the reach disadvantages, especially. Obviously, he's got power. He could crack Sean O'Malley. We've seen that happen to him by Yan when O'Malley fought Yan. He was getting punched a lot, or rather, there was that big one overhand he got hit by and kind of knocked him down briefly. But I feel like Song Yudong will win this fight. Obviously, as I said before, it's like he can be like hungrier, and he O'Malley's had the belt, he's had all that, he's had all his fame and stuff like that. I feel like Song Yudong will be more, he'll be more fired up in this fight, I believe. So that's why I'm gonna pick him. And for the main event, Gaethje versus Pimblett. So Paddy Pimblett is obviously coming into this fight 7 fights unbeaten. He, last fight finished Michael Chandler, something Gaethje didn't do. But Gaethje, as what was his last fight? It was against Fiziev. Yes, it was against Fiziev, which is I wouldn't exactly call a title shot rewarding fight, but here we are. Our man Surukin is annoyed, I guess you could say. He's still bitter, I guess you could say. I'd be bitter too. I mean, it should have been Arman against. It should be Arman against like Holloway or something like that. One of those fights for if it was to be the interim championship. But we have Gaethje versus Pimblett. Uh, Pimblett, I believe, will win. I believe Pimblett will win. Gaethje's older. This is like his 10 millionth title shot or something like that. This is like his fifth title shot, and I don't think that's exaggerating because what was it, the Ferguson one, and then against Khabib, Oliveira. Uh, is it fourth, fifth? It's one of them. Anyway, so Gaethje's older. He's had the kind of highs of he was the interim champion like what 5 years, 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Pimblett, although Pimblett hasn't been faced against the best competition, he has like kind of walked through most of them. Obviously, there's like the Jared Gordon thing, there's the Tony Ferguson decision, and but I feel like that's not his fault. I feel like that's only because he was given those fights by the UFC. He's obviously like a star, like he is a star. The UFC want to fast track him to like a championship where they can like have more eyes on him and stuff like that, and put him, in the main event like we have now. But I feel like he's still good enough that he will win against Gaethje, even though he hasn't been faced against good enough competition. I think he will. I don't see him like trying some brawl tactic with Gaethje. I believe that wouldn't be smart. I think he will obviously try and maybe wait for a couple of minutes and then he'll try and go, somewhat of a takedown. Maybe he'll try and like some flying knees. Gaethje kind of dips when he fights. He kind of like is hunched over sometimes. And I feel like maybe like Chandler, he'll try and go for some flying knees or something like that, like he hit Chandler with, or like maybe a knee up the middle or a kick up the middle. Who knows? I feel like that would be if he was to strike, he'd be looking for that. Obviously, he'd just throw like jabs and straights and stuff like that. But I feel like Gaethje would have the power edge, and I think that wouldn't be like the best idea to do that long term into the fight. I feel like he will like just try and takedowns. Obviously, uh, Gaethje's obviously got a good takedown defense, but we've seen against like Khabib and stuff like that. Khabib, Oliveira. Obviously, Oliveira like just dropped him, but against like Khabib, he was getting taken down. Not very much, but he got taken down like what 3 times, but that led to the submission. Gaethje's jiu-jitsu isn't like the best, I feel like if he does go down, he could be susceptible to have his back taken, especially by a guy like Paddy, who's like a jiu-jitsu guy like mostly. And yeah, as I said, he's younger. He is in his prime. I think Paddy's what 30 or 31 or something like that. Gaethje's like 36. Uh, Gaethje will be faster. I believe Gaethje will be faster. However, I just feel like he's like even if Paddy couldn't like drop him or whatever. Like I do, especially after the Holloway fight, because we got to remember the Holloway fight. He got knocked out cold. Although it was like almost 2 years ago. The Holloway that actually feels really weird to say that UFC 300 was almost 2 years ago. That is time's going fast. But anyway, Gaethje, his chin's going to be not the same after the Holloway fight. Obviously, after that, he fought Fiziev. However, that was a Fiziev coming off like what the. Or sorry, rather, he came into that fight on like 10 days' notice because Gaethje was supposed to fight, I think it was Dan Hooker, and then Hooker pulled out, and in stepped Fiziev. so it wasn't like the best opponent, you could say, because it is like a short notice Fiziev, who in himself was coming off like a 1.5 year layoff, maybe even two. I can't actually fully remember, but it was like a long time. So it's not like they're kind of equally matched up in terms of like their last couple fights. You know, obviously Paddy won, but it wasn't against good competition. Gaethje got knocked out by Holloway, and then he fought like a kind of diminished Fiziev, like a lackluster Fiziev, I guess you could say. Ringrust Fiziev, yeah, say that. And you know, I just kind of see Paddy just kind of maybe jabbing him, avoiding big shots, and then like going for a takedown, and maybe he'll get like a submission, maybe round like two or three or something. Maybe call it round three. You know, after maybe he'll spend like on the ground with Gaethje. You know, kind of be ground and pound. You know, not fully committing though. Doesn't want to like burn his arms out or burn himself out. And I think he'll kind of maybe it'll just add up, like similar to the Chandler fight where he took Chandler down and he just kind of beat him up on the ground and then got the finish. I think it'll be something like that. Maybe he'll get like a rear naked choke, or even I don't really see him getting a triangle. I don't think Gaethje will. Usually, you get a triangle if you get taken down. I don't believe Gaethje will try and take Paddy down. I think that'd be stupid for Gaethje. But yeah, I just that's how I see the fight going. I think Paddy's gonna win. He'll be the new interim champ, and then him against Topuria in the summer. So that's my predictions for UFC 324. If you agreed or disagreed, comment below. Tell me what you think I got wrong. Tell me who you think's gonna win. And yeah, again, like, subscribe, and comment as well. And I'll see you later. Bye.